Good afternoon, Dr. Tarun. Welcome to Network Capital. So let's get started. Could you tell us what you do and how you got here?
Good afternoon. It's nice to be with you. My primary day job currently is as a professor at Harvard, and I'm interested in the role of entrepreneurship and creativity in fostering productive change in developing countries. I'm trained as a technical person. I like applied math a great deal and tend to retreat to my algorithms when I think about how to solve a problem. But over the years, it's been sobering to realize that most problems cannot be solved purely with technology. That technology has to be appropriately paired with a very deep social empathy and a social understanding to really create effective change. So that's kind of the quest that I've been on for the last 20, 25 years, not by design, but by accident, serendipity, experiment, and it's been enormously fun. Sometimes frustrating, and certainly overall very productive, and happy and humbled to say.
So let's delve deeper into that. So you're a technical person, and now you said that certain changes led you in this direction. What were they, and what were the role of mentors in your life?
So mentors, of course, are absolutely paramount. It's almost a cliche to say that, but in my case, I can certainly say that it's been true. Um, Going back to, I would say, one of my earliest mentors was my geography teacher in Standard 5 in Bombay, who really was refreshingly different from most of the other teachers. Not the other teachers are not good, but she was just extremely open and really made you, even at that, when I was 10 years old, in 1976 in India, realize that learning is about appreciating what you were reading in the book and thinking about it a little bit as opposed to just memorizing it. So that's the person that I would point to as my earliest mentor. More recently, when I was an undergraduate at Princeton, there were a lot of people who really took care of me. One gentleman, Hugo Sonnenschein, very prominent academic who has some theorems named after him, became the president of the University of Chicago, extremely kind man, just took a fondness to me for whatever reason and really showed me different options. And I was going into more and more closer and closer to applied mathematics as a discipline in graduate school. And he made me pause and think about the breadth of possibility, which I think was very helpful. And the mentors continued through my Harvard years. There was a gentleman Kim Clark, who became Dean of Harvard Business School, who prior to becoming the Dean, again, just encouraged me to take the long view and say, don't worry about individual setbacks or individual things that trigger either euphoria or distress. In Hindi we say, "Ye to upar niche hota rehta hai," that ups and downs will come every day, and if you just take the long view and learn something from everything, things are usually fine. So.
More recently, your report led to the foundation or contributed to the Atal Innovation Mission, and you've anyway engaged with the government closely. So what have been some of the key lessons and takeaways, and could you explain in what capacity you've been involved and what your vision is for the future?
Sure. Some years ago, I was asked by the current government in India to lead what I think was called an expert committee on entrepreneurship and innovation for India, and so I constituted the committee, and my committee interpreted the charge as creating a framework for entrepreneurship and innovation in the country that would be, one hoped, a guidepost for policy interventions that would make it easier for people to do creative things in India and exercise what economists and philosophers call individual agency. In other words, take responsibility for yourself and make things happen in some ways, and be accountable for your efforts, but also get to reap the fruits of your efforts. That report, which is a public report, was kind of adopted by the government under the auspices of Niti Aayog, which is an entity that exists in New Delhi. And now there is something called the Atal Innovation Mission, which is certainly influenced strongly by that, and is the entity through which a lot of the report's actions are being rolled out. So it's enormously satisfying. And it was, though I've engaged with the government many times in the past informally, this was the first formal engagement in some ways, and I was pleasantly I wouldn't say surprised, but heartened by the positive intent, at least at that level of government, very senior level of government, and also humbled by the difficulty of putting some of these things into action when you see policy being implemented on the ground.
And also you were recently involved in a very interesting project on memory and rememory. Could you talk us through that and what led to the creation of it?
That's a lovely project. One of my, in payment for my sins, I was asked to build Harvard's presence in South Asia, which for us extends from Afghanistan to Burma and all the countries in between. And Harvard is a university, even though it's close to 400 years old. Is it? Well, it's certainly more than 350. It's a lot of years old. Has not had much presence in South Asia. We've got a very deep presence in East Asia, in Europe, in Africa, and Latin America, but not South Asia for a variety of reasons. So for the last 7 years, I've been building that up. And one of the latest projects that this very diverse collection of academics that I have the privilege of steering have taken on is to do a very interdisciplinary project on the 70th anniversary of the 1947 partition of British India, which this year, of course, will be a big deal in Britain and in Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, countries in the subcontinent. One of the projects within that is a project that I co-lead with a colleague, Professor Jennifer Leaning, who is a human rights activist and a medical doctor at the School of Public Health at Harvard. And I call it crowdsourcing memory. And the spirit of it is to say that people who lived through the partition of British India, which includes my parents, are in the latter end of their biological lives, and we should capture their experiences in a way that society can learn from them. Now, there are a lot of efforts like this in different places around the world trying to preserve people's memories, but because we have the benefit of being tech savvy and believe in scale and algorithms and so on, my colleagues and I believe that we can crowdsource people's memories. One of my colleagues who is of Pakistani origin is partnering with me, Kareem Lakhani, also a professor at Harvard. And he and I have pushed this over the last few months to collect hundreds and eventually thousands of oral renditions and memorabilia, the way people recollect their memories of the time. And then you can apply all sorts of algorithms to them to essentially give a very different view of history that conventionally is only done from archives.
It's very interesting. One of the goals of Network Capital is also mentoring across borders. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. It'll go out to 12,000 young professionals from across the world, and we look forward to engaging closely with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Wonderful. Thank you.